Hi, everyone. I'm Hazel. I've spent years living with a controlling stepdad who tried to break me but ended up breaking himself instead. Life as a pre-med student isn't easy, especially when you're working part-time at Patterson's pharmacy to save up for med school. But honestly, work and studying were my escape from the suffocating atmosphere at home. 3 years ago, my mom, Amelia, married Henry Cooper, and everything changed. Hazel, why are the lights still on in your room? Do you think money grows on trees? His voice would boom through the house at 10 p.m. while I was studying for my biochemistry finals. I'm studying for an important exam, Henry, I'd reply, trying to stay calm. You can study during daylight hours. Your mother and I pay the bills here. Mom would just stand there, wringing her hands. Henry, maybe just this once. Amelia, don't undermine my authority. We talked about this. That's how it always went down. Mom used to be vibrant. She ran her own boutique and was so full of life. Now, she's just a shadow of herself, always trying to keep the peace. She sold the boutique because Henry convinced her it was too stressful. My best friend Harper noticed the change too. During our study sessions, she'd bring it up. Girl, your mom used to rock designer outfits and host the best neighborhood parties. Now she barely leaves the house. I know, I'd sigh. Henry's got her thinking she can't make any decisions without his approval. He even checks her phone. That's messed up. Why do you guys leave? It's complicated. I'd say. The house is in Mom's name, but Henry has his fingers in all her finances now. My bedroom became my sanctuary. Every photo of my dad, every academic award, every little memento told a story of happier times. There's this one picture of Dad and me at my high school science fair. I'd won first place with my cancer cell research project. He was so proud. A little girl from Boston's going to cure cancer one day, he'd always say. Henry, of course, had other opinions. Medical school is expensive, Hazel. Maybe you should consider something more realistic. To the neighbors, we looked like the perfect blended family. Henry played golf with the Hendersons every Sunday and flashed his fake smile at every neighborhood barbecue. But behind closed doors, your mother needs to understand that I make the decisions in this house. And you, young lady, need to learn respect. Despite it all, I maintained straight A's. My professors at Boston University had no idea what went on at home. No one did, except Harper. I pushed forward because I knew education was my ticket out. Keep your head down and focus on your goals, Harper always reminded me. 2 more years and you'll be in med school. Sometimes I felt like I was suffocating. You're stronger than he is, Hazel. Remember that? Harper would say. And when I looked at my walls covered with acceptance letters and Dean's List certificates, I knew she was right. Henry could control the house, the finances, and even my mom for now. But he couldn't control my future. I just never imagined how far he'd go to try to break my spirit. Spring break should have been a happy time. I'd aced all my midterms and couldn't wait to crash in my room. Maybe binge some Netflix. Instead, I walked into a nightmare. What's going on? I froze in the doorway, staring at empty walls where my life used to be. My bed, my desk. Everything was gone. Oh, you're home early, Henry said, barely looking up from his laptop. He was already set up at a new desk where my bed used to be. I needed a home office. You're too old to have a room here anyway. Where's all my stuff? I demanded. I cleared it out. You can check the dumpster if you want anything. My heart stopped. The dumpster? It had been raining all week. I ran outside, nearly slipping on the wet pavement. There, in the dumpster behind our house, my entire life was soaking in rainwater. Photos of Dad, my awards, everything. You had no right. I screamed, pulling out a waterlogged photo album. The picture of Dad and me at the science fair was ruined, his smile distorted by water damage. Lower your voice. Henry stormed after me, his face red with fury. The neighbors will hear, he hissed. Good. Let them hear how you threw out my dead father's photos. I shot back, my voice trembling with anger. You ungrateful little. Before I could react, he grabbed my arm, shoving me hard against the garage wall. I put a roof over your head. Food on the table. Dad put this roof over our heads, I yelled, cutting him off. This is his house. Mom appeared in the doorway, her hands wringing like always. Hazel, honey, Henry just needs a quiet place to work. We can get you new photos. These were originals, Mom, the only copies. Amelia, go inside, Henry ordered, his tone icy. Your daughter needs to learn respect. You're hurting her, Henry. Mom's voice trembled, but she didn't move. I said go inside. After a long pause, she obeyed, disappearing back into the house. As soon as they were gone, I dropped to my knees and began salvaging what I could from the dumpster. My books were ruined, my photo albums destroyed. But then I noticed something unusual, a stack of papers wedged under the debris. My hands shook as I pulled them out. Bank statements, letters from casinos, loan documents. My eyes scanned the pages, my breath catching in my throat. $50,000 in gambling debts, loan applications in Mom's name, a notice of termination from his firm, dated 2 months ago. Hazel. Harper's voice startled me. She'd driven over after my frantic text. Oh my God, I whispered, shoving the papers at her. He's trying to remortgage the house. Look at the signature. He's been practicing Mom's handwriting. Harper's jaw tightened. That's straight up fraud. Keep your voice down, I said, pulling her behind the dumpster as Henry came out of the house. We watched silently as he got into his car and drove off, probably to another business meeting. You're not staying here tonight, Harper said firmly. I can't leave Mom alone with him, I protested. Girl, he just put his hands on you. We need a plan. But first, you need to be safe. I hesitated, looking up at the window of what used to be my bedroom. Through the glass, I could see Mom wiping down Henry's new desk, erasing any trace of me from the room. Harper helped me gather the papers and pack whatever I could salvage. Back at her house, we sorted through the water-damaged belongings on her bedroom floor. That's when I found even more documents, casino markers, bounced checks. He's in deep with some dangerous people, I said. Harper's pre-law brain was already working. This is evidence, he said, but we need to be smart about how we use it. That night, staring at the ruined photo of Dad from my science fair, I made a promise to myself. Henry thought he could erase me, break me like he broke Mom. But he had no idea what he just started. We'll make him pay, Harper said, squeezing my hand. Not just for the room, I whispered, my eyes on the photo. For everything. The next day, we parked Harper's car 2 blocks from Henry's favorite bar. You won't believe what I found, I said, flipping through my notes. His old firm didn't just fire him, they caught him cooking the books. How'd you get that info? Harper asked. Remember Jenny from high school? Her dad's on their board. One casual coffee meet-up and boom, the whole story came out. We watched as Henry stumbled out of Al's bar, probably after losing another grand at poker. It's the same pattern everywhere he goes, I said, flipping through more papers. He gets hired, gains trust, then money starts disappearing. Harper's laptop glowed as she typed furiously. His ex-wife, Angela, finally responded to your message. She's willing to talk. The next day, we met Angela Thompson at a quiet coffee shop across town. She didn't hold back. He cleaned out our joint accounts right before filing for divorce, she said bitterly, claimed it was business investments gone wrong. Sound familiar? Did you ever press charges? Harper asked. Angela shook her head. I couldn't prove anything. Henry's smart, he always covers his tracks. But I've kept everything. Bank statements, threatening texts, emails. Back home, things were getting worse. I overheard snippets of late-night arguments. Just sign here, Amelia. It's a great investment opportunity. But Henry, this is my house. Our house. Don't you trust me? After everything I've done for you and your ungrateful daughter. That night, I crept into Mom's room while Henry was out. Mom, wake up, I whispered, shaking her gently. We need to talk. Her eyes fluttered open, confusion turning to concern. Hazel, what's wrong? We need to get your money somewhere safe, I said, lowering my voice. I know about the second mortgage. Her hands trembled. He said we needed it for his gambling debts or the money he stole from his firm, I interrupted. Her eyes widened. How did you? I found proof, Mom. Lots of it. But right now, we need to protect what's left. The next morning, while Henry nursed another hangover, Mom and I walked into First National Bank. Welcome, Mrs. Mitchell, the teller greeted her. How can we help today? Mom straightened her shoulders. I'd like to open an account, just for me. Each week, we transferred small amounts, just enough not to raise suspicion. Henry was too busy covering his tracks to notice. Your mother's getting smarter with our finances, he grumbled one night at dinner. She's even started asking questions about the mortgage papers. I shrugged, pushing my food around my plate. Really? That's interesting. He pointed his fork at me. Don't get any ideas. I know you've been putting thoughts in her head. Me? I said innocently. I've been so busy with school. Besides, you made it clear this isn't my home anymore. Late that night, Mom slipped into the basement where I was staying temporarily. I moved another 1,000 today, she whispered. The new account has almost $20,000 now. Good, I said. Keep acting normal. Henry's getting sloppy. He made some big losses at the casino last night. Her eyes narrowed. How do you know that? I smirked. Let's just say his bookie isn't as discreet as he thinks. The next morning, Harper called. It's all coming together, she said. The firm's internal audit, Angela's records, the casino debts. We just need one more piece. I watched Henry pace through the basement window, shouting into his phone. His desperation was palpable. Don't worry, I said grimly. That piece is about to walk right through his door. Later that day, a man arrived at our house. Mrs. Mitchell, he asked. Tom Henderson from Cooper and Associates. Mind if we talk about your stepfather? That call set off an avalanche. At a downtown coffee shop, I slid a thick folder across the table. Everything's here. The embezzlement, forged signatures, gambling debts, even his attempts to remortgage my mom's house. Tom's face hardened as he flipped through the evidence. We suspected he was stealing, but this is systematic fraud. Within days, Henry's carefully built house of cards came crashing down. His former partner, James, showed up at our door. Where's the money, Henry? The board wants answers. What money? What are you talking about? Henry blustered, but his confidence was cracking. Don't play dumb. We have proof you've been stealing for months. That night, Mom finally spoke up. I want to divorce Henry, and I'm pressing charges for attempting to forge my signature. His face turned red with fury. You ungrateful. Choose your next words carefully, I said, stepping between them. The police are already on their way. He froze, his face draining of color as officers walked up the driveway. Behind them was Tommy, his bookie, or so I thought. Turns out, Tony was an undercover agent investigating illegal gambling operations. Henry Cooper, one officer said. We have some questions about certain financial discrepancies. As Henry was escorted out, the neighbors watched from their porches. No more perfect family facade. You did this, he smiled at me. You'll regret it. Like I regretted finding my father's photos in a dumpster, I shot back. A week later, Mom launched her online boutique. I helped her set up her office in my old room. Look what came, she said, holding up a letter. My medical school acceptance. Dad would be so proud, she said, her eyes shining. Speaking of Dad, I pulled out a restored photo of us at the science fair. The restoration artist had done an incredible job. Mom hung it on the wall. Your father always said you changed the world. Harper called later with updates. Henry's case is solid. Multiple fraud charges. Prison time is inevitable. The DA says he's looking at 8 to 10 years minimum. Good, I said. Plus restitution, Harper added. And his gambling debts? They've destroyed his reputation. The country club even revoked his membership, not that he could afford it anyway. Standing in Mom's new office, watching her confidently manage her growing business, I realized something. Henry thought destroying my room would break me. Instead, it gave me evidence that destroyed him. Ready for the boutique's website launch? Mom asked, her eyes sparkling like they used to. Ready, and Mom, I'm proud of you. She hugged me tightly. We're survivors, baby. We always were. Looking at Dad's restored photo, I smiled. Sometimes the best revenge isn't what you do. It's becoming everything they said you couldn't be. What about you? If someone destroyed your most precious memories, especially irreplaceable photos of a deceased parent, how would you handle it? Would you take immediate revenge, or would you play the long game like I did? Share your thoughts below.